Rembrandt in America at the Minneapolis Institute of Arts brings together the largest number of Rembrandt's paintings ever gathered together in America. We're delighted to have in Minnesota such masterpieces as Rembrandt's self-portrait of 1659, which comes to us from the National Gallery in Washington. It's one of the great Rembrandt paintings in America. This attractive portrait of a young woman with red hair belonged to Samuel Kress, who bought it in part because of its incredible royal provenance. It had most recently been in an aristocratic Italian collection, but it had also been in French royal collections. Shortly after Kress bought it in the 1920s, he seems to have had a case of buyer's remorse, and he started looking at the painting more closely, and he had the painting checked out by an authority who actually used to work at the Minneapolis Institute of Arts. His name was Alan Burroughs. Together they looked at the painting carefully to see whether or not it was an autograph Rembrandt, whether it was an autographed 17th century painting. Their findings were not published for decades. What attracted Kress to the picture was in addition to the provenance, the beautiful young woman, the ornaments in her hair, the chain on her neck, and the elaborate lace collar that she wears. These are all aspects that one finds in Rembrandt, and to have a Rembrandt of a bright-eyed young woman is a very attractive prospect indeed. But what you see is that you also have here a young woman with red hair wearing an elaborate collar, beautifully painted. But when you compare the two pictures, however, you realize that there's a vast difference between them. The other girl had her face completely in light. She was very directly illuminated, whereas here the woman is lighted from the side, and it creates a complex array of shadows across her face, and the transition of these shadows is almost seamless. It's incredible that Rembrandt can paint that beautiful transparent shadow and modulate it so perfectly. And as we look through the painting from top to bottom, we see the wispiness of her red hair, in which he's painting very freely. We see the brush strokes, but the brush strokes seem to evaporate before our eyes as he gets into the outer reaches of her hair. On her forehead, we see tactility. There are little raised areas in the white paint where Rembrandt's making sure that it catches the light so that we really have a strong sense of the illumination of her forehead. The eyes are clearly watery. They're very animated and alive. Her mouth is very carefully articulated so that we have the sense that she's almost ready to speak. If we look at her pearl earrings, one is illuminated, one is in shadow. It's a beautiful contrast between the two. And it gives a sense of space around the figure to have the light coming from one side and creating shadows on the other side. If we look at the smock gathering of her undergarment, we see that Rembrandt is painted very directly, big, sharp brush strokes, showing his versatility as a painter, applying the paint in the way that's most suitable to the subject. He's not following the fashion of painting smoothly over the entire surface. Instead, he's sculpting in paint and really letting us feel the tactility, the physicality of this woman's presence.